I want to show you, in her own words, why I think Kamala Harris is an absolute extremist and extraordinarily dangerous. And people are not going to be talking about these things on the left, and media won't show it to you. So I ask you to grab today's podcast and earmark it. So if you ever need to share this with your friends, you know where it is. Here is a flashback from Kamala Harris, where she is speaking at the Islamic Center of Southern California. Listen to this.
And we must have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. And we must also have the courage to reject that term, illegal alien.
Okay. So she's telling this group of Muslims in this mosque that they have to stand up and end the use of the words radical Islamic terrorism. Well, okay, so then what kind of terrorism is it then? If we don't have radical Islamic terrorism, if it's just terrorism, how do you fight that? Because is that the same terrorism that you've classified as moms speaking out at school board meetings? Because you've said that's terrorism. Do we fight that terrorism the same way we fight what you don't want to address as radical Islamic terrorism? She also says, there's no such thing as an illegal alien. Okay, well then how do we describe them? Then who are they? Are they just soon-to-be citizens? Are they refugees? Are they just poor, tired refugees that are living off the American taxpayer by staying in 4- and 5-star hotels and being fed free food until they get back on their feet? Which, by the way, if that's what America decided to do, all right, that's what you decided to do. But that's not. Most Americans are not for that. But the state just has decided they're going to do it, so we all just go along, I guess. But is that how we just identify them now? How do we know? Words have real meaning and real power. They're important. It's why we don't say, police are looking for a man. What? Well, what did he do? Police are looking for a man who shot President Trump. Okay. All right. That doesn't help me much. Can you tell me about the man? No, I can't. Why not? That'd be politically incorrect. Well, then what are we looking for? We're looking for a white man in his 20s. He's about 5'8". He's skinny. And he was last seen here. Words have power and are important. You cannot continue to cancel words. Now, here she is again in another speech, undocumented workers, not criminals. Here you go.
An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal, and we have to correct course in this conversation.
Because Barack knows we have to change our conversations.
Una persona sin papeles no es criminal. Sí se puede.
Yes, we can. And a really uncomfortable laugh. Now, another flashback. How does she feel about ICE? Here's what she said in a 2018 interview with MSNBC.
A lot of the signs at the rally you just held were people standing there saying, abolish ICE.
Yeah.
Is that a position that you agree with?
Listen, I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing. And we need to probably think about starting from scratch because
we'll reimagine ICE. We'll get back to the reimagining of the police here in a second. She also wants to ban fracking. Now, this is something that they're going to deny that she ever said or was ever for, or she changed her mind. But I would like to know how you could be this committed on fracking, and then what changed your mind? Because this is a big one that goes with the Green New Deal, which she was the first sponsor on. She led the way for the Green New Deal. So where does she stand on fracking? Cut 4.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
Okay. Now, she's also been one that pushes the book ban in Florida and saying that Ron DeSantis was "don't say gay," which was a lie. Here she is in that.
When I look at the fact that in our country we're looking at somewhere around 600 bills being proposed or passed, anti-LGBTQ bills, book bans, a policy approach that is "don't say gay," people in fear for their life. People afraid to be. These are
so
fundamental.
If you only get your news from the left and you're hearing her say that, and you don't hear the correction, I can understand why you might be afraid. But when somebody is using lies to create fear in you, that's a problem, especially when they are known to be lies. Here's another one. She supports cutting police budgets.
If you're for overhauling, where do you stand on defund the police?
Look, right. So here's the thing. Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. And when you have many cities that have 1/3 of their entire city budget focused on policing, we know that is not the smart way and the best way or the right way to achieve safety. For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong. Because, by the way...
Stop. She has proven that what she just said was wrong. And that also goes right into, when have you heard that? Reimagining the police. That came from her. She was one of the big proponents of reimagining the police. Do you like the effects of reimagining the police? She also went on to say, and we're going to skip this one, but cut the police budget. She was supportive of that. Remember, the media later would tell you that it was the Republicans that were for the police cuts. And then she went on to say that it's outdated to believe that more police equals safety. Now, when you are causing people to have fear and you're saying, look, I've got the plan, people start to depend on you instead of their own thinking and their own mind and everything else. And they begin to look at Uncle Sam as a good uncle. No, that uncle should be in prison. That uncle was abusive to you, okay? But listen to how she's treated here on the Drew Barrymore program with Drew Barrymore. Listen to this.
I keep thinking in my head that we all need a mom. I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. Yeah. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Isn't that great? I don't want another mother. I had another mother. I don't need another mother. That's not what the presidency does. That's not what the vice presidency does. They are not your parent. And if they are a good parent, they treat you like a 19-year-old. You're out of the house, no longer in my care. Stand on your 2 feet. But that's not what the left wants. There's so much to go over with her. It's almost overwhelming. And we will continue this, but we want you to make and save bookmarks so you know where you can get this information, because a lot of this information is going to be lost. We'll post this information at glennbeck.com, and we'll post all of the stories, the true stories that are now being deleted. And know that they are going to discredit our voices more and more. They have to. They're all in lockstep again. They weren't just a couple of weeks ago. They all, well, I guess they were. They all were in lockstep of telling the truth about Joe Biden, and now they're right back to their lies. So we will make sure that you have access to the truth so you can show your friends, and not access to stories just, from us or whatever, but from the New York Times and the Washington Post, because they all said these things. Whatever hasn't been erased, we will find and make sure that you have access to it. Because she's she will be the most liberal person to ever be president of the United States, or even a candidate. She is a socialist. She is at least stated much further than Barack Obama. Much further, at least stated. She's coming in as this radical, and the press will obscure that and make anybody who says any different into conspiracy theorist. But we're not. Know that you've been lied to over and over and over again from these same people, and share the truth.